Democracy is key. It is important. But we are also seeing that it is becoming difficult by the day for one to imagine that you can get an absolute majority in the democratic space. Whether you're looking at what is happening on the African continent, in the United States, or in other, it is going to become extremely difficult. So when you talk of supermajorities in parliaments, in our respective parliaments, it's going to become a rare occurrence. So what may be happening in the United States today, or in other parts, I think we must brace ourselves for a long haul. Whichever way you look at it, the measures that the administration in the US is putting in place will become very difficult to undo. Once they are done, it takes a very long cycle, if you imagine, that it will be undone. Perhaps it will take a couple of decades or more for some of those policy positions to reverse. So we need to start preparing ourselves in the context of this environment that is changing. Whether it is the health sector, whether it is the education sector, we need to look at it differently. And I also think we need to talk to ourselves in our societies to realize that the sword is now cutting both ways. If aid has been cut across the globe, it is not about the regimes in place. Everything has changed. So we all have to look internally, think better, work better, use our meager resources more efficiently, stop wastage, stop corruption, and then we will start changing our own lives. I had the opportunity to lead the Treasury at one time, as my brother Siko did indicate, and I can tell you, it is not pleasant whatsoever. When you are globetrotting, trying to unlock aid baskets, it is not. So we need to look at this exercise they're taking as being more than just pulling people out of difficult situations, but look at it also as a moment for you to give dignity to these young men and women in our respective nations. They need respect, they need dignity, and it has to come through effort, through the harambe spirit in its true form. So ladies and gentlemen, with these remarks, I hope I've provoked you enough, positively though, so that I can now formally declare this Africa Exchange convening officially open. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana.
Philanthropy must focus on long-term strategies, including building schools, financing innovation, supporting entrepreneurs, and creating an ecosystem for Africa to thrive from within. Philanthropic organizations should collaborate with development institutions to scale up funding for building ecosystems that enable Africans to create innovative and lead in this new digital age. Just last week, I was in Kigali, Rwanda, for the Global Artificial Intelligence Summit, where I engaged with innovators, policymakers, and thought leaders from across the continent. I also met young engineers and entrepreneurs creating AI solutions tailored to our realities, from Kiswahili-speaking chatbots to health diagnostics designed for under-resourced clinics. The overarching message from this experience is that AI is not just a tool for the future, but is already reshaping our present. It is offering Africa unprecedented opportunities to leapfrog development hurdles. AI-enabled innovations reaffirm Africa's great potential that, if enhanced by the right infrastructure, policies, and investments, will reinforce Africa's ability to harness its people and technology for its own socio-economic transformation. We must invest more in our youth, who, as everybody knows, constitutes over 70% of Africa's population. They are the architects, disruptors, and builders of a more prosperous Africa. As Trive Masiwa, a trailblazer African entrepreneur and philanthropist, and we were with him in Kigali, once said, "We must create the next generation of African business leaders, because ultimately it is business that will transform Africa." Collaboration between governments and stakeholders presents a great opportunity for enhancing the dreams of Africa's youthful population by deepening their access to capital, mentorship, and markets. Philanthropy can fill the void left by dwindling foreign aid and build ladders of opportunity for our youth to transition from job seeking to creating jobs. It must focus on enabling long-term economic resilience through funding for youth mentorship programs, tech incubators, and skills training aligned with future jobs. Let us also address concerns about philanthropic work in Africa, including the high cost of administration, streamlining the operations to increase funds flow to community activities at the grassroots, and investing in local entrepreneurs will create wealth and reduce aid dependency. Transparency, accountability, and community involvement must become the cornerstone of modern philanthropy. Governments, private sector partners, and funders must work together to cut waste and ensure that every dollar delivers maximum impact to the target beneficiaries. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey to Africa's prosperity is long and complex. Governments, private sector players, civil society, funders, and other stakeholders have to work together in tandem, aligning their goals and resources. Here in Kenya, our rallying spirit is harambe, a slogan which means pulling together, adopted from the chant used by the Indian immigrants during the construction of the Kenya-Uganda Railway at the turn of the last century. I chose to emphasize harambe because everybody thinks it's about always assembling somewhere, dipping into your pockets, getting an applause. We have actually lost what was the actual principle around the harambe spirit. So I thought I should just revisit that so that we can really appreciate and restore the good name of the clarion call harambe. Let Africa Exchange be more than just another conference. It is the birth of a movement, a commitment to doing things differently. We must build an ecosystem where solutions are not imported but cultivated locally, where the wisdom and leadership of Africans shape our destiny. This will empower communities, ensure that our people have the means to build a sustainable future for themselves and the generations to come. I am delighted to join you for this inaugural Africa Exchange convening that aims to strengthen locally led development and a more resilient, self-sustaining ecosystem. Let us appreciate the Rockefeller Foundation, Children's Investment Fund Foundation, and Conrad Hilton Foundation for bringing together a diverse range of stakeholders, including governments, global funders, local philanthropists, implementers, and private sector leaders. This gathering of minds and hearts comes at a momentous time when the world is experiencing significant shifts, presenting challenges and opportunities that compel us to redefine how to empower communities across Africa. For far too long, we have relied on donor-driven community support models that, though well-intentioned, reinforced dependency rather than promoting self-sufficiency. The moment is here to ask ourselves, how can we support beneficiaries to lift themselves up and chart their future? Africa has long been a recipient of philanthropic aid, but time has come for us to recognize that aid only provides temporary relief that is not sufficient to transform people's lives. The reality, as we have learned from a famous Oriental proverb, is that give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The cutback on aid by the United States and the planned reduction in aid budgets by the United Kingdom and several European countries underscores the urgency of our conversation here. While international support remains valuable, Africa must now leverage its ingenuity and partnerships to bridge the gap between its needs and available resources. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey to Africa's prosperity is long and complex. Governments, private sector players, civil society, funders, and other stakeholders have to work together in tandem, aligning their goals and resources. Here in Kenya, our rallying spirit is harambe, a slogan which means pulling together, adopted from the chant used by the Indian immigrants during the construction of the Kenya-Uganda Railway at the turn of the last century. I chose to emphasize harambe because everybody thinks it's about always assembling somewhere, dipping into your pockets, getting an applause. We have actually lost what was the actual principle around the harambe spirit. So I thought I should just revisit that so that we can really appreciate and restore the good name of the clarion call harambe.